What is going on, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global back here with another video, and in this one, we're going to be talking about a topic that I've seen going around a lot with Pats Nation, and that is Josh Gordon and reuniting with the New England Patriots. Now, this past December, while he was a part of the Seattle Seahawks, for the fifth time since he began his career back in 2012, Gordon was suspended by the NFL for violating its substance abuse policy. This is something that Gordon has had issues with essentially his entire career after being selected by the Browns in the supplemental draft. Currently, Josh Gordon is suspended indefinitely, which is something that as Patriots fans, we know this with Josh Gordon because it happened to us when Gordon was on our team. He was able to be with New England for a few months, but towards the end of their season, their 2018 season it was when Josh Gordon got suspended, kind of left the Patriots high and dry there going into the playoffs and the Super Bowl, but ended up being okay because, of course, as we all know, we won that Super Bowl. We didn't know what was going to happen with Josh Gordon. We knew that he was getting rehabilitation. He was trying to work himself out. It sounded like this was really going to be the turn of events for Josh Gordon. We finally got him back in July, August, really right before the start of the regular season. I actually do believe it was August. And he was able to last a few weeks with New England before they ultimately cut him. No one knew why. It was high and dry, just out of the blue, they cut Josh Gordon, and the Patriots were already struggling at the wide receiver position. You didn't have Antonio Brown anymore. You didn't have Demaryius Thomas. And then you went ahead and cut Josh Gordon. Really, that was the big turning point to the New England Patriots wide receiver core and how that kind of progressed throughout the rest of the season. New England Patriots started this past season with really the best, or one of the best, I should say, wide receiver cores in all of the NFL. A few weeks into it, they became one of the worst. Hop in a couple months later, he's already signed with the Seattle Seahawks. He's doing pretty well. He's really fitting in with their scheme very well down there with Seattle. He loves Russell Wilson as a quarterback, so everything was just fitting out pretty well for him. And then he gets suspended again for the same reason. Something we thought that he was finally past, and apparently he wasn't. And I think that is kind of where everybody kind of stopped questioning that move from Bill Belichick. They kind of knew that something was happening with Josh Gordon. There was some turn of events, whether they knew something was happening with Gordon or whether they could tell by his characteristics, how he was acting, how his behavior was, and they kind of took that into action and went, this isn't really what we want to have in the locker room, not really something we're going to want to deal with. So before something big, turns out with this, Gordon, we're going to release you. News recently dropped by NFL Network's Tom Pericello that Josh Gordon sent his letter in for reinstatement back into the NFL. Now, we don't know when that is going to come back. We don't know when the final answer is going to happen. It could take months for this to happen. The season could already start, and Josh Gordon won't have an answer yet. He could get it in August. He can get it in July. We don't know. The big thing here, too, and a lot of people are probably going to be like, Patriots Global Josh Gordon, he's not coming back into the league. He's had so many issues with suspensions. Like you mentioned, this is the fifth time since 2012 he's been suspended. Why should the NFL let him back in? And a big issue for Josh Gordon came with using marijuana. Now, he's had some other issues down the road, but when you're looking at all the issues, the suspensions for the most part, that's all come down to that one specific thing. As we all know, the NFL had that ban for the longest time. If they caught an NFL player using it, you were suspended. No ifs, ands, or buts. And this is something that the NFL players did not like at all, especially with it becoming, more legal in the States now. It's becoming more accepted throughout society. So this offseason, the NFL did change that rule that, that marijuana, it's accepted now. If you get caught doing it, you're not going to be suspended because, look, they know that they're not going to be able to stop these players. Players are going to do it no matter what. And as long as it doesn't affect, how they're playing on the field or the game, then essentially the NFL doesn't really care what these players are doing off of the field. And for Josh Gordon, that could be a very good thing because, again, this is something that has kept him out of the league for a while. This is what his issues ultimately came back to. You can't keep a guy suspended for doing something that you are now making legal in the league. Now, look, if he goes ahead and he starts using PEDs, if he's doing other hardcore drugs or anything like that, then okay. He deserves to be suspended. There's nothing else you can say about that. But if you're suspending him for the purpose of he's had issues with marijuana, but you're going to make it legal now, then there's no reason that he should not be reinstated. Now, remember, before he was cut by the New England Patriots, they did sign him to a tender last offseason, ultimately meaning that they had him on a one-year deal. They cut him. He went to Seattle. That one-year deal was still in play. So if he's able to come back, when he's able to come back, he will be an unrestricted free agent, pretty much meaning that Josh Gordon can go wherever Josh Gordon sees fit. Now, real quick, guys, you already know that there is no shortage of action going on with our exclusive partners, betonline.ag. They have hundreds of games, events, and sports that you can bet on. With the whole pandemic going around, you're not able to go to the casinos, but luckily enough for you, BetOnline is bringing that casino right to your home. You're able to bet on NFL, NBA, and UFC, or even participate in Madden Bracket Challenge. Basically what that is just a March Madness style NFL simulation that you can enter for free. If you're somebody that likes to bet but hasn't been able to due to the pandemic going around with everything being closed, then this is the perfect place for you. You can do it no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. If you have a phone, if you have a laptop, you're able to do it from the comfort of whatever your life is throwing at you. If you are interested, visit the website or use your mobile device and join today to receive your new welcome bonus and check out all the action, guys. Bet Online, your online wagering solution. Now, when the Patriots originally traded for Josh Gordon back in September of 2018, let's remember that the Cleveland Browns, they gave up Josh Gordon in a 7th round, and New England sent them a 5th round pick. So you could tell that because of the off-field issues of Josh Gordon with the uncertainty that the Cleveland Browns were just looking to grab essentially whatever they could for him, because it was either trade him, get whatever you can, or just release him and get nothing. The question mark of Josh Gordon has never been the talent. There was a point where he led the league in receptions, I believe. It was either receptions or yards, which goes to say something. Either way, the Patriots needed a top wide receiver that season to go ahead next to Julian Edelman. I mean, Gronk was a shell of himself at that time. Chris Hogan wasn't performing the way Chris Hogan was. They needed some help in there. And somehow Josh Gordon came in. He picked up the playbook extremely well. He built a chemistry with Brady just like the snap of a finger. And if he had played a full season with the New England Patriots in 2018, he easily would have had a 1,000-plus yard season. Now, after he departed with the Patriots and signed with the Seattle Seahawks, he went on to play a total of 11 games with them as he caught 27 catches for 426 yards and a touchdown. Now, what was being said about the relapse of Josh Gordon? Because like I said, when he was originally suspended by the NFL when he was still with the New England Patriots, the Patriots were doing everything that they possibly could. They were helping him along the path. Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft, Tom Brady. Everybody within the Patriots organization was truly trying to help Josh Gordon get better and help him have that comeback. Josh Gordon seemed like he found God. He found his faith. And just essentially seemed like he was past his old ways. Like he wanted to be better. Now, what caused him to relapse was supposedly the sudden death of his brother. People are saying that that relapse and the issues with drugs came around the same time that his brother had passed away. And if you're an addict, it's a situation where you got to be you're different than everyone else. There's nothing you can say that departures the fact that you're going to be different from everyone else. You can't be around drugs. You can't be around alcohol because it's going to be an issue for when it comes to temptation. It's harder for those guys that have an addiction to resist the temptation, even if they've been sober for a good amount of time. And sadly, Josh Gordon's demons just got the best of him when he was at his most vulnerable state. Now, I personally see Josh Gordon coming back into the league. If the issue stands at the point of marijuana, then I don't see what they do that says you're not able to come back. Now, if it comes to another issue, like I said, that it becomes something more hardcore than that, then that's a different story. But I think if it's specifically that, I don't know how they don't let him come back into the NFL. So my prediction is that he does come back. I think they will allow him back and kind of just take it easy with him. But I don't see him coming back to the New England Patriots. Now, would New England like to have a wide receiver with the ability of Josh Gordon, who is insanely tough to cover on slant, is great in yards after the catch, is a nice, sure-handed wide receiver sitting at 6'3"? Oh, I'm sure they would. There's nothing you can say that would separate the fact that the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, they would love to have a guy of Josh Gordon's caliber back in New England. But I just don't think Josh Gordon would be interested in coming back to the New England Patriots. Gordon seems to love, and I mean love, his time with the Seattle Seahawks. He loves the play style they have. He loves the atmosphere. He posts about it all the time on Instagram. And it seems like when he's able to come back, as long as the Seattle Seahawks want him back, that's most likely going to be the destination that he goes to. I think there's ultimately two things that could lure Josh Gordon in. For all 32 teams, there's two things that these teams can do. One is personnel. If you just have a great team, a great overall team, you have a great quarterback, personnel, then that is one thing that will help draw you in. Now, if Tampa Bay wasn't so stacked, I would say Tampa Bay could be a team that I'm sure Josh Gordon would love to go to. Again, you look at the Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson, and the entire facility, the entire coaching staff that the Seattle Seahawks have with Pete Carroll and their offensive scheme. That's another place that I'm sure Josh Gordon would love. The Saints would be another great place I'm sure he would love because of personnel. Now you look at the New England Patriots, what do they have personnel that pulls Josh Gordon back in? They need help at wide receiver, yeah, but they don't have Tom Brady at quarterback. They have question marks at the quarterback position. Josh Gordon had some time to work with Jarrett Stidham, but he didn't have a lot because he was suspended for most of that time. With all the question marks that the New England Patriots have, I don't see Josh Gordon wanting to go to the New England Patriots. I don't see them being that first choice for him. And then the other aspect was money. If you offer Josh Gordon a big contract, ultimately it's going to come down to, okay, Gordon, what do you want? Do you want the big money contract? Or do you want to go somewhere with the personnel you like the most? The New England Patriots clearly don't have either. I just talked about the personnel, and they currently have the lowest amount of cap space left by any team in the NFL, sitting at around $600,000. So when you don't have personnel to be able to bribe him with, you don't have the money to be able to bribe him with, you don't even have $1 million, even $1 million, the complete minimum to offer him. What is enough to lure Josh Gordon back in with the New England Patriots? Now, real quick, y'all, I'm doing this thing with my buddy DCTV. He's a guy who covers everything Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, there actually is a guy who makes stuff for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's my boy from Fan to Fan Network, which, if you guys don't know what Fan to Fan Network is, it's a whole new, brand new network that is being created by creators just like me for all 32 NFL teams to give you sports fans the accurate news, predictions, and just everything essential for your team that you guys finally deserve. But me and him decided to team up real quick and just do a little thing where we talk about our favorite Patriots from each other team. Now, mine was AJ Green, and he talked about that on his channel. His favorite New England Patriot is Julian Edelman. What are your guys' thoughts on his favorite Patriot? Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? Let me know in the comment section below, and I will also link his YouTube channel below also. Go ahead and check it out, guys. So I'm super sorry to Pats fans that I'm sure were potentially looking forward to Josh Gordon coming back, but I don't really see there being any chance that that is going to happen. But that is going to be it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on Josh Gordon coming back to the NFL? Do you think he will? If he does, which team will he go to? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like this video if you haven't already, and consider subscribing to the channel for all of your New England Patriots content. Like always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.
In Astro World.